This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not meant for substitution or replacement of professional medical or health advice. This podcast may contain explicit language, taboo topic, controversial ideas, and triggering points of view. So we invite you to respect what is being shared, even if you don't agree. If you resonate with anything that's being shared in today's show, please feel free to apply it into your own life. If not, we invite you to let it go. Welcome to the Mastering Life, Relationship and Intimacy podcast with Lucia Gabriela, a sacred space which means it's free of judgment, where we come together to learn and explore how to awaken, unleash, and unlock our inner master self. These podcasts feature experts in topics of life, relationship, and intimacy. In life, we will explore topics on health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, yoga, and spirituality. In relationship, we will explore topics on self-love, being single, dating, online dating, romantic partnership, marriage, uncoupling, divorce, parenting, polyamory, family and work relationship, and money. In intimacy, we will explore topics on tantra, sacred sexuality, eros, conscious adult entertainment, kink, and BDSM. I am your host, Lucia Gabriela, a relationship and intimacy coach, integrative somatic therapist, tantra facilitator, a speaker, co-author, and founder at Nuna Holistic Retreat Center in Sarasota, Florida, where we offer integrated therapies for individuals and couples to awaken, reignite, and embrace their true power. To learn more about any of my transformational coaching and somatic experiences, immersion weekend, and couples retreat, go to www.luciagabriela.com. And today's episode is about how your communication style affect your relationship with your children with Neha Sunny. Growing up in a physically and emotionally abusive home, Neha despised the words used to manipulate her into doing things and being someone she wasn't meant to be. Having spent much of her adult life battling depression, she felt disconnected from herself, as well as from people around her. But she knew she wanted to be a most different kind of parent, one that empowers and instills a positive mentality for her children. The journey of motherhood was far from easy. Not only did she have to learn to manage her emotion, but she also had to face the challenge of being the mother of a gifted child. While her marriage gradually fell apart, her challenges helped her develop a deep understanding of the impact of words spoken to the innocent mind of children and how they play out in adulthood. Neha is a mom of a preteen boy diagnosed with ASD. Meditation and mindfulness help her develop patience for herself, her son, and other close people in her life. She holds communication and connection workshops, as well as facilitate guided meditation in Hong Kong. You can learn more from Neha at www.coachneha.com. Welcome, Neha. How you doing today?
Thank you, Lucia. I am so good. I'm so happy to be with you on here right now. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We have such a yummy, delicious conversation today. And, it's so important what we're going to be addressing, because it's not just related to our children and how we raise our children in this parenting topic, but also how to give an invitation to everybody who is watching and listening today to come back to themselves as children and understand more about themselves, and understand also that many times how we act, it has been imprinted at a very young age in childhood. And the conversation of today about, how your communication style affects your relationship with your children, is we can really dive deeper within ourselves and understand what is the level of communication that we learn as children. And that's maybe the level of communication that we are acting on or responding on, right? So I'm really excited about today's conversation, Neha.
Thank you. I am very excited to share more with you and everyone that's listening today. Let's get going.
Yes. And knowing us, like you and I, like we definitely are going to be sharing from our personal experience too. So it's really, really important that for audience to understand that, this is an incredible journey of mastering your life, your relationship, and your intimacy. And communication is such a great topic. So let's start with the topic itself. It's enticing. How your communication style affect your relationship with your children? So, what kind of styles of communication are there?
There are so many different styles of communication, and parents can see for themselves the words that they use. They can ask themselves, or they can listen to themselves if they're more aware what kind of words they're using, what kind of questions are they asking, the kind of questions they ask their children or sentences they speak, whether they're empowering their children to believe in themselves, or is it they're disempowering their children and limiting them, So one is leading towards expansion of others and their children, and one is just the exact opposite, and that's a state of, or let's say, a lack of growth. So it stunts growth tremendously. So whether you want your children to grow and expand to their fullest potential, or whether you want to stunt their growth, your words have power. As parents, you are gods.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I was like, I'm like myself being going through legal matters in court, court days, and being in front of the judge to create a parenting plan that is appropriate for my child. So I was just sharing that with the judge, which he looked at me like, what? When I was saying, addressing that anything that we do as an adult, for our children, we are God to them. Like, we are almighty to them. We are everything to them. Whatever we do, whatever we say, however we act, however we react, however we respond, however, anything that we do, they actually are going to see, because we are their whole entire world until they become a little more exposed to many different people and different styles or parenting styles, with play days and school and teachers. And, I feel that it's really important for us to realize how powerful we are for our children and to our children. So the judge, when he heard that, and I said, we are literally like God to our children. And he's like, he looked at me it was beyond his comprehension because I was like, I don't understand how that concept really is. It is really true and powerful, and I feel like it's just everyone in society, even the court system, come to realize how important is our role as parent.
Yes,
it will be a different story. So, from what I think I'm hearing from you is, there's one of the ways of communication, one of the styles of communication is the aspect of being empowered and disempowering. But we also had been talking about the aspect of being verbal and nonverbal. So you addressed a little bit about that, the verbal, which is empowering and disempowering. So any kind of examples that you can give us about the nonverbal communication that could be also categorized within empower or disempower?
Okay, so empowering, let's look at the body language, how we speak. Are we speaking at, and so this is your child, so are you speaking at your child? or are you speaking when you're right at their eye level? Are you speaking to your child? You know? So, and then if you're speaking at them, they're going to feel intimidated. You're much bigger than them. You're stronger than them, for sure. But when you come down to this level, you meet their eyes. You're not as You're not as intimidating, and what you speak is going to be better accepted because you're going to make eye contact with them, and you're going to have to, of course there's ways to make eye contact as well, and the look of love can be communicated through our eyes, and the look of contempt can be created through our eyes. Look of anger can be communicated through the eyes. So much communication comes through the eyes. I remember as a child, I used to see a lot of disappointment and anger and frustration in my mother's eyes. So I personally choose to communicate with my child, like with my son. He's 12 now. He's almost coming up here. But I will still choose to go down. I mean, if I have to, I will look up at him and then speak with him, or go to his level and speak with him. And I make sure I speak with him, like, communicate. My gestures need to communicate love. If there's anything less, I want my child to let me know that, because I want him to know that he is loved. So there's that, one of the non-verbal ways to communicate. So that you can do it with your body. You can also do it with your face, your eyes. The non-verbal, well, when you're speaking, there is also the tonality in which you speak, and often it's very normal as parents to care for children, and when there is an emotional attachment, I'm sure you've also experienced something like this. There's an emotional attachment in that moment. If when you have lots of things going on in your head, and you have to take care of this, you take care of that, and then you go like you speak a little louder than you should, but that got to your child. So becoming again aware about that. There's so many things that we need to be aware of. So you can be aware of your tone. You can be aware of your the way you're looking at your child. What else is there to do? Non-verbal. Give me hints. I feel a little stuck over here.
Yes, and I want to point back to the concept of eye gazing. When it comes to eyes, are such a portal for us human beings to connect at a deeper level, and eyes can tell a lot. I know when somebody's hiding from from saying the truth, quote unquote lie. I know when somebody, like my daughter, for example, she's not telling me she's afraid and not telling me the truth of something. I can tell when she's lying. And these are the things that a lot of parents, I have learned to even, teach my partner, who is, is not the father of my child, but he's there. And sometimes people get, really don't understand why children lie. And one of the things I had discovered in my life, because I was a big liar myself, and I had to lie to survive, is that I always invite the curiosity of asking more deeper questions, why they are not telling the truth, why they have to lie. I always feel like people, that's my belief, that's what I'm seeing. I have been studying and talking to so many people and addressing so many relationships, even helping people to get out of toxic relationship and trying to understand why people lie. It could be lie for empowerment, or it could be to defend themselves or to protect themselves. I feel that it's a level of protection when we lie. I feel like myself, sometimes I still had this very light, and I always have to ask myself what I'm protecting myself from. So my invitation to parent is, when you're talking about the eyes and you start recognize that your child's not telling the truth, step back, take a big breath in, and invite yourself to be curious. to question yourself and question and ask smart questions, like you were talking about, like asking smart questions. What is actually happened? Why this child is protecting? Because they're protecting something. They're afraid of
Yeah.
something, and they will only lie because they're afraid of something. They're afraid that they're gonna
Yeah.
get hurt. They're afraid that they're vulnerable. They're afraid that they're gonna get punished. And so
Yes.
it's really important to, be conscious parent and ask yourself a question: why my child's lying?
Yeah.
Because like working with little children and having little kids, and if we let this keep continue and grow, they're gonna grow up
Yeah.
lying, and then they're gonna, if something goes wrong in their life or they have a problem, then they're gonna come and ask for help.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else do you have to
And
say on that?
yes, I do agree with that. And yes, you're right in that the child is trying to protect itself. Here's where our job as a parent becomes even more important. How we respond to that is going to cause them to hide more,
Mm-hmm.
lie more, or ask the child to open up and know that this is a safe place that I can continue to share with my parent. So if, let's say, we respond that in anger or in a way that questions their integrity or their decision at all, that the kind of question, like why type of questions, those are blocking questions. And if
Mm-hmm.
we get curious, like you're saying yourself, if you get curious about it and we open up a space, like I understand this is what's going on at school, for example, and I know that there is this thing that you think about and worry about. So, would you like to share something about this? Would you want to share this about this with me? And that's
Mm-hmm.
when the child feels, okay, maybe it's okay to tell. Because what happens a lot with my son is he starts to, like, cry and feel scared already. So myself and my ex-husband, we both just say, like, no, we're not trying to blame you for anything. We want to understand, and there is an issue that is coming up, and we want to resolve it, and we're going to resolve it together. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And my job and daddy's job is to help you to resolve this. And just as I am speaking these words, is exactly how we speak them. If there is like a strong emotion attached to that, which means we have an emotional reaction, our child is going to feel that, and that's going to act like a
Mm-hmm.
barrier. It's going to stop, and they're going to go into more of a defense mode.
Yes,
So
and
you want, yeah, that's in the long run, it's going to escalate.
yeah, you're still right on the aspect of um, if they come to you and they lie, and then the way that you respond or react, right? Like, remember, responding is when you come grounded and center, and you focus and you hold space for, whatever need to be addressed. Reaction is actually, you were right on the point where the reaction will escalate, because reaction is like coming from a place of pain and actually come from a place of trauma. So one of my
Yeah.
mentor talks, we talk about, especially when we're addressing trauma, is the bigger the reaction it is, the old the trauma it is. So the older the trauma it is. So as a parent, if you can actually, become aware and conscious, oh my God, my reaction was so huge. And I have find myself, even in this mastering process of, mastering my own life and mastering my energy and everything, because we all masters, this is the purpose of this podcast, is to invite every single one to know that you are a masters, and that we
Yeah.
had now reclaimed our title of master, but we are masters, and we are in a journey of mastery. And one of the things I have realized myself, that when I have my biggest reactions as a parent, I have to realize and explore within myself where this pain came from, where
Mm.
this, and then usually it comes back to childhood. It come back
Yeah.
to the way that we were raised, come back to the
Yeah.
style of communication that our parents used at that time. I feel
Yeah.
like, Nia, we are in the greatest time of history. I do feel that we are living times where there's a level of consciousness and awareness that is here, is right now, and is inviting all of us to do that deep inner work that for centuries and even maybe 2 millennia has not people had not done the work. We had just being in these unconscious patterns of just raising kids the way that it was very unconscious, but for a purpose, right? Like everything has a purpose in life. And yeah, I feel like I feel so inspired to even have conversations with you like this, because it's so amazing to be able to talk to other individuals who working in this field and sharing the words, the wisdom. And,
Yeah.
our children are going to benefit from all of this. So excited.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. And we become more conscious because of our own experiences from childhood. Well, then that's again a choice. Not everyone is aware. Maybe there are some parents who still continue to make mistakes, and I believe, and I truly hope that this sharing that we are having is going to help those particular parents not only help their child but also help themselves, because this is their journey, and as they grow they empower their own children, because as a child you will make your parent come right. So whatever the parent says, the child is going to make it come true for themselves in their future. So and then knowing this, how will you speak to your child? Is a question you should ask yourselves as parents. What is it that I want my child to become? I want my child to expand our contract. I want my child to expand and grow to his fullest potential. I already speak with him in the language of what he understands. And, okay, let's broaden the horizons. It's great that his education system is also hand in hand with expansion. Like, they teaching big business to 10, 11-year-old children, which means that they're teaching them that you have the ability to sell. You have the ability to create. You have the ability to innovate. So they're Elon Musk's in the making. I mean that's Elon Musk is in his like he's reached middle of his life. Our children are still growing and they're already in the making. So it's so beautiful what we have in our hands as a parent. This beautiful gift that we can give to our child. We have to be aware about it.
Yeah. Awareness is power.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned is, we all look for children to expand, like all of us. At the same time, we understand the laws of the universe that for everything to expand, contraction must be needed in a level. So, how do you address contraction with your child? Because it's really important for children to have the tools for expansion, but also it's very important for them to have the tools to live their life when they are in those moments of contraction. So what kind of tools do you feel that just one that had been very useful for you?
I will say in my own upbringing, and I think this is a very beautiful point that you brought up. I myself did not think in that tangent, but it's great that you brought this up. And yeah, it's the contraction and the expansion of this, like that. And because if I weren't that contracted, I probably wouldn't be this expanded and today, right? But what helped me was, as a child, was my own being quite independent, and even though I was asked to do things, I mean, that was not that I was encouraged to do it, I was or told nicely how to do it, but still, I will say that because of the things that I did at a very young age, those things empower me now. They empower me. I'm able to live independently and take care of myself, and that's something that I want my child to learn to do. Not when he is my age, but when he is already, out of school, out of university, and start to live his life on his own, he or she, your child needs to start now, and to understand that they need to do this. It's not just, it may feel like, okay, I have to do this for myself. It may feel like a lot of work for, let's say, an 11 or a 12-year-old. It may feel like a lot of work, but it's in the way that you communicate to your child. How is it you're going to tell them, oh, you're so hopeless. How is it that you're working like this in the kitchen? I mean, can you not just do this properly? So there's that way. Or there's like, okay, what would you like to cook today? What would you like? So they can throw in their ideas. I mean, opening up the space for them. So that space was not open up for me, but then I was still doing the work. Contributing to housework and doing little things and grocery shopping and all that stuff and dealing with money at a very young age. So well, it was empowering, and I try to teach my child the same, but in a completely different approach. The same values, but in a completely, communicating it in a completely different way. And in terms of contraction, I was told horrible things, like I don't need to go to school, and this is what you're gonna cook for your in-laws and stuff like that. So what happened was so the standards were like that high, the expectation was that high. So, and for me to understand that those were expectations of an fully grown adult, but they were expectations from a child, and they were unreasonable. But that adult at the time didn't have the understanding of okay, that's a very big expectation. But then what happened was, now when I try to make something once or two, I take, usually in my first attempt, it's perfect or closest to perfect. Yes, and then there is this pedestal that I have to rise myself to, and I realize, okay, whose expectation is questioning myself again, right? Whose expectations are these? Am I just making myself go crazy with these kind of expectations? If I have this awareness as a parent, I am also going to think about it. Okay, are my expectations reasonable for the type of child that I have? And am I communicating these in a reasonable way? And knowing the limitations that my child has, and asking him to come up, rise above those limitations. All of that kind of comes together when I now have this awareness of myself, and so I just be kinder to myself. And okay, it's okay to have a high standards, high expectations, but not to beat yourself up if you did not meet them. But try. Don't give up. Keep trying. Because at the end of the day, you are doing your best. Everyone goes out and tries to do their best. Nobody says, today I'm going to do my worst job ever.
That's true. Yeah. So what I think I'm hearing for come to addressing contraction and we're teaching our children. what I think I heard was be conscious with the expectations that we have, because it is kind of like resonate that when we are in those contrasting times is because we are in disalignment with, who we are, and maybe, we put so much outside of ourselves. We put, our standards so high that doesn't become a standard anymore. It becomes an illusion, because
Yeah.
standards are some, are in alignment with who we are, and not the better part of us or the greatest part of us or the better version of us, but is in alignment with who we truly are, and we are giving ourselves permission to embody and to say, yes, I am this amazing, incredible human being. So when we have these contrasts, because we have lost in touch with this part of ourselves, because expectations are really dangerous, and putting expectations upon our children and even upon ourselves is really dangerous. And we're going to be talking about that in a bit. The other thing I heard from you was, even in those contrasting times, to have a good understanding of your values as a human being, as a being of existent in this planet, and having those values, and at the same time, when we in these contrasting times that we feel chaotic, it feels confusion, it feels traumatizing, it feels incredibly painful. Investigate or be curious even more about our values, because if the values are not, again, in alignment with who we are in existence, it definitely is going to bring us more into contrast. So teaching this kind of simple element of getting to learn yourself more and be investigating more of where in your values are you off, will help you to navigate to be in contrast, in the contrasting times a lot more. And the thing that I love that you mentioned is so important to be kind to ourselves when we are in this moment. Not, we all joyful and happy and kind and be, bubbly when we are in our expensive times. We are oh yeah, everything's doing great. But when we are in those times that it could feel the worst times of our life, to be kind is such a great message, because this is where we actually will help ourselves not to hurt ourselves a lot more or even more. And to be kind and to be persistent in that kindness, I really feel like it's a great tool for parents to become aware of how their communication, how their being impact their children's lives. So I really like that. Thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. It was a great question.
Great.
Yeah. And I like that you brought up values, and while you were speaking with me, something really interesting came up for me, which I learned, and I'm trying to teach my child that as well, my son. It's about making choices, because we always have a choice. So one thing is being aware that we have a choice, in not choosing, we're still choosing. And pain, most of the time we're trying to run away from pain when we really know that pain is inevitable. We choose one or the other, it is going to be painful. Now it's your choice in choosing your pain. That you will find your joy, and so I understand what is difficult for my son and how painful it is for him, and what can be done about that, and him choosing his path, and basically his decision making in his own life is empowering him. is going to um, give him a better understanding of what pains to choose, what choices to make in life, so that his life is better, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you said about choosing your pain. By choosing your pain, you will find your joy. It's such a
Yes.
such a deep concept that I had to soak into it, and it's kind of like yeah, it kind of feels it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the verbal communication and nonverbal, and the aspect of within the verbal and nonverbal, there's element of being empowering and disempowering. And I totally love this conversation because as a parent and as you shared before, what you say to your child is what they actually create, right? If you tell them you are such a loser, you are ugly, you're fat, you are, I don't even have the vocabulary. I can't even say it, but you get the point, right? I can't even go more than 3.
Yeah.
That's how painful I can feel it already. So I'm like, if it feels painful in my body, it's not, I cannot say it, to be honest to you.
Wow.
This will be one of the tools that I definitely invite people to explore in their life, is that every word that we say, it actually carries our vibration in our bodies. And
Yes.
everything that we think and we say, that vibration will create or destroy parts in our body. So,
Yes.
we have so much science out there showing the power of the mind, the power of words, the power of intention, the power of kind words, right, to our body is could really heal. I come from my background, if you are new to our show, I come from a background that I, recover and heal cancer at a very young age, where I discovered that my cancer was because I was emotionally toxic with myself, because I used to be a hater to myself. I didn't love myself at all. I used to say mean things to myself. I used to, cut myself everywhere. I would be destructive to myself because I didn't want to live. Long story, you can go to my website, luciagabriela.com. You will find it there. But since that story, since that journey of healing in a very holistic homeopathic way, I knew that the cancer was created because I created it with my words. I created it with my mind, with my desire, with my intention. So I knew at a very young age that I was going to heal it naturally, right? I have my doctor, homeopathic, blah, blah, blah. We did it. And since then, since the age of 15, I have been very conscious with how my body feels when I speak something. And I told you, this is like, I love this conversation because it's all about communication. Even when we take this concept, not just with children, but also when we take this concept and we apply in an intimate relationship, it's so important to realize that how you respond, how you react, actually it draws a lot of energy within you. And I tell you, I have chosen out of my experiment, and maybe because, I have been working with my shadow, my darkness, and I have given myself permission without judgment to react to explore and feel what it is. And I tell you that when you react and when you are in that state of so much anger and rage and frustration, not held in a very conscious, empowering way, that is not for creation and actually for destruction. Because there are 2 ways, right? We can be able to be in that state of rage and anger and frustration and be held from a place of creation and a creative reclaiming. Also, it can be utilized when it's all over the place. That's a destructive way of using it. And I tell you, I have experienced it, that my whole body shut down. It takes me days, sometimes a week, for my body to regain that energy. And it's, saying the words, that's what I said, I can't go more than a few words. And I say very gentle words. I didn't say the mean words because I can feel it in my body, that level of my energy already like, and it's like body's like, no, it's like, you can already feel within my body that aspect of inner conflict and protection. So now it's like there's a battle. And I'm just processing with you guys what's happening in my body right now. But that's a great tool for you to become aware, not just for your children, but for yourself. That when you say, these kind of like these empowering words and expressions, at the end of the day, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be drained out of energy. And then you're going to try to go get a coffee or something that spike you up. And nothing will spike you up when you're so drained out. That's why we have illnesses in our body. So something to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're so right about that. I mean, because of what you shared, parents can also ask themselves if they're speaking words that they want to change those words. Think back to what their parents spoke to them, and possibly those are the words they speak with themselves right now when they're on their own. They're speaking limiting words to themselves. They're going to communicate that unconsciously to their child as well. And so that's disempowering. That's limiting again. So what do you want to pass down? And that those limitations that you're passing down, your child is going to think about those and think less of themselves, and then not love themselves enough. And then, yes, those diseases and all those problems, yes, those are real, because it starts here. It starts as a thought. It's a belief. It's a belief in themselves. How much do they believe in themselves? What are you communicating as a parent to your child? Are you communicating belief, or are you communicating disbelief? Yeah.
That is a very powerful question. What are you communicating to your child?
Yeah. Your words, the tone, your looks, every way that you communicate, your whole body language. Your child is going to remember that, and the feeling of that is going to remain with your child, because people will forget the words, they will forget about everything, but no, they're not going to forget the way nobody forgets how you make them feel, right? Yeah. So what is the feeling you want this other person, this beautiful person who has chosen you as your parent? How will you choose to communicate? What feeling do you want this child to leave with and live with? Even though my ex and I were not together, I bothered to ask my child this, and I told my ex that I asked Veer, our son, whether he thinks if I am doing a good job as his mother, because my child doesn't even live with me. So I used to question myself if I am being a good mother. Let's say, even though he's not here with me 24/7, I judge myself as a mother. But I want to know, for the times that he's spending with me, is he being communicated with love? Is he still feeling loved and accepted? And the time that we're spending, is it quality time? And my beliefs in him are empowering him. So what is his reflection on that? And if he wanted something that I would rather change, or he would rather have me change, what would that be? I'm open to listen.
Yes, and I just wanna point out something here. I feel you're such an amazing mother, Neha, and I feel that as a mother myself, and I working with so many moms and talking with so many moms, and even parents like dads, doesn't matter the gender or sex. So we're always going to be questioning ourselves if we're doing a great job. And I feel like that question is never going to end. It's never going to end until we we cross the terrain of planet Earth to maybe who knows where, right? Where you sign up next. Yeah. And the question is never going to end. And one of the things that have brought peace to me within myself is that we are doing great, and everything is perfect as it is. And even if may seem like it's not perfect, or we judge it to call it bad or good or bad, right or wrong. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's like it's all a perfect experience. Our children won't know the difference until they experience the contrast of it. They won't know. Yeah. For example, my child, she will not know. Maybe now at her age, she knows the contrast a little bit because of our whole situation. I have a big thing going on with her dad. So she has experienced the contrast at a very young age, and she knows the difference, right? And I feel that that's why it's so important to, if we're going to be able to do something as parent, is to help them, to give them tools so they can navigate contrast in a very blissful way. Because yes, the contrast is where actually they're going to be able to appreciate the work that we have done. And I feel like that will be my measurement if I want to see, quote unquote, ask myself the question of being a good mother. I will see it when my daughter can navigate the contrast in her life, because I was able to provide that for her. And that will be, to me, that will be a measurement that I could be able to say, great. My daughter herself, I was telling her something, and I was using my psychology in some levels, and she comes to me and she's like, Mom, your reverse psychology is not going to work on me today. It's like, so when, yeah, I'm like, great, okay, so now I have to think about this now. And she's like, that's not going to work, and that makes me feel like, you know what? Because our case has been about domestic violence and abuse, and that kiddo has experienced things like that in a very raw way, being threatened to be killed and by her own father, to kill me, and a whole story. To have a big case going on. That contrast and me be able to support her in a way that to come to me and tell me, hey, Mom, you know what? This reverse psychology is not going to work on me. I know I've been doing a great job, because you know what? When she goes to somebody else and try to manipulate her, quote unquote, with love and kindness, right? That's how the manipulators go. And, they're the narcissists, the gaslighters, and all the people that are very nice, really nice people. You have to be really, really cautious about very, very nice people, that they don't break a plate. When, that they're very loving, and they use manipulative tactics to grab you. If my child coming to me and tell me, hey, I recognize that BS from you, Mom, right now, it's not going to work on me. I am like, wow, it's fun and it's delicious to hear it, but at the same time, I know, this kid has the tools. This kid has the tool to not repeat the same, mistake, quote unquote, mistake, which is all perfect, because otherwise I wouldn't be here talking. But she will not be, she will be so conscious to recognize right away when there are manipulators in her life. And not in the name of God or name of love, they're going to be able to get her, because she got it. So, awesome. You know what I mean? So, I am sure that your son has, and not just for you, Neha, but for everyone in the audience. As a parent, I feel like we're doing everything we can, and our children, and come to peace with yourself that we're not going to be able to see that until they experience contrast in their life. And that's when we really want to it's not like we wish contrast to a kid, but it's gonna happen. It's a natural process of life, so it's gonna happen. But that's what's gonna tell me, how good I did.
Yes. Yes. This is so beautiful. I told my story in front of 70 odd people, and this was happening in the evening and on a weekday, last week actually. So I showed that recording to my son, so he heard my story, and afterwards he shared with me. He was hesitant to share with me his feeling, but he did share later on that he felt anger towards his grandmother. He wanted to take revenge, and then I said, "It's what is the revenge that you seek to take? What is it that you are trying to do that I already have not? And I'm not saying that your anger is not valid."
Mm-hmm.
It's a valid response, but revenge is not the way. And so it was the evening. The next day, I told him, okay, so this is why Mama is taking care of herself, living on her own, so that she can be better to herself and be better to you. And then you can see from the video, you can tell what was the style of communication of my own mother. How do you think that was? And he said, okay, that was not a very it was like breaking down a person.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in comparison, building up, is the way he felt towards me. So then and then I show him reflection of that, in that he standing up for himself. And he has shown me a couple times that he has stood up for himself. And if he didn't like something, so in the way someone told him, this is with myself and my ex-husband, and he has said that he did not like it. So I like that he don't take bullshit.
Great. And one of the things before we wrap it up, when it comes to revenge, based on my horoscope, right? I'm a Scorpio. And based on my horoscope, we're supposed to have a high level of revenge. Like, don't mess up with Scorpios. We really can't take you down, baby. And at a very young age, I realized that was something that I did not want to become dominant in my world, right? Like the aspect of revenge, because I later, it's a practice, to really dissociate yourself from those kind of like characteristic of your type or your archetype or your characteristic of your horoscope or your design or whatever, right? It takes a lot of full commitment. And one of the things I realized with time doing this work and somatic work is that revenge utilizes literally 90% of your energy. I see it this way because that's how I feel it, right? Like, even when I have done experiment where myself was like, okay, kiddo, let's get into the revenge. We're going to plan all this. We're going to do it. We're going to revenge. Get all that anger, right? Like, get all that energy. And I have done the experiment within myself where I'm like planning it. Like, how I'm going to revenge myself. My emotional energy get like so drained out that it's like this. My body energy, my mental energy, all my energy gets so low that it could be one of the reasons, I'm not saying it's the reason, but it could be one of the reasons why people become addicted to something, to recharge that. And you have to become very conscious. It's like any kind of emotion, we really have to look at it like it is depleting me or it is fulfilling me. So what kind of emotions, because emotion is energy in motion. So what kind of emotions can I, conspire with the universe to make, to fulfill my life with? So one of the emotions and feelings that you share was the aspect of compassion, the aspect of, maturity, right? Mature compassion, I call it, Yeah. And the aspect of like, because once you get into that level of like revenge and all that, you're not going to have energy for anything. There's not going to be energy for creation. You know, everything's just going to come in a snowball. It's going to come and, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's an interesting journey to go into revenge. So I know we're talking about parenting, but this is a great conversation.
Yeah. Rolled off a little bit, but yeah, that was us.
I love it. So before we wrap it up, Neha, how can our audience reach out to you? Because you're an amazing parenting communication coach. And you, from resonating with you, this is not the first time that we talk in person, but feeling you, connecting with you has been amazing, and you actually teach and share and coach from your own personal experience, which is beautiful. And that's the difference between us and other people, is that we don't follow a protocol of like this. We have a protocol, but we don't follow what we call a cookie cutter mold. You know,
Yeah.
we coaches that do intense training in different modalities, but at the same time we are so open and vulnerable to share from what we have learned in our own journey. And your journey as a mother has been incredible and very honored. So how can they find you now?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm grateful to you. Um, Viewers can reach out to me through YouTube. I have a channel called The Gift Channel. On Facebook, I have a Facebook page that's called Coach Neha. And I have a website also by the same name, coachneha.com. And on Facebook, I go by the name Neha Lata, Nehalata. So you can find me and reach out to me and message me, and I'll do my best to help you. Any questions you can ask. And thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. It has been a very, very, very beautiful conversation. I loved what you shared about yourself. I learned so much more about you as well in this conversation. Thank you for this opportunity, Lucia.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Neha. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on today's show. And if you have enjoyed it, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us an outstanding review. Until next time.